I'm 91 years old, and I'm haunted, not by ghosts, but by a voice. The voice of my best friend Leo from a phone call we had 30 years ago. It was the last time we ever spoke. We were both stubborn, proud old fools, and we let 30 years of friendship die over nothing. Absolutely nothing. I always thought I'd have time to fix it. I was wrong. And I'm telling you this so you don't end up like me, haunted by the silence of a phone that will never ring again.
Leo and I, we weren't just friends. It feels like too small a word for what we were. We were brothers, forged not by blood, but by shared experience. We grew up on the same dusty street in a town that felt like the center of the universe, 2 houses apart. Our whole world was the space between our front doors. We learned to ride bikes on the same cracked pavement, our knees perpetually scraped and scabbed in identical patterns. We fished in the same muddy creek, convinced that the next cast would pull up a monster, but happy even if all we caught were weeds and old boots. In the long, hot summer evenings, we'd lie on our backs in the grass, watching the stars come out one by one, and we'd map out our futures. We were going to be heroes, adventurers, rich men. We had it all figured out. I was the best man at his wedding. My tie was crooked, and I was so nervous I almost dropped the rings. He was the best man at mine, and he gave a speech that made my own mother cry with laughter. Our wives, Eleanor and Maria, they became sisters. Our kids grew up together, a chaotic, happy pack of cousins, running between our backyards as if they were one single giant kingdom. It was a shared life, a single life lived in 2 bodies. For 50 years, he was my person, the first number on my speed dial, the first person I called when I got the promotion at the plant, the only person I called when the doctor gave me the bad news about my father. He knew me better than anyone on this earth. He didn't just know my stories. He was in all of them. He knew my flaws, my quick temper, my crippling fear of failure, my stupidest jokes that no one else found funny. And he loved me anyway, or maybe because of them. I thought that kind of bond was unbreakable. I thought it was forged in something stronger than steel, something eternal. I was a fool. It turns out the strongest bonds are the most brittle, because you take them for granted. You think they can't possibly break until they do. The fight. God, it's almost shameful how little I can remember about what started it. That's the universe's cruelest punchline, isn't it? The reason for the war is forgotten, but the casualties are tallied for a lifetime. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about a woman or some grand betrayal. It was nothing. I think it was about politics. One of those stupid, heated arguments that flare up at a family barbecue, fueled by cheap beer and the arrogant self-righteousness of middle-aged men who think they've figured out the world. He said something I didn't like about my candidate. I said something he didn't like about his. It escalated. Voices were raised. Insults were thrown. The kind that are designed to hit below the belt, because only a best friend knows exactly where your deepest insecurities are hidden. And we used that knowledge like a weapon against each other. I remember his wife, Maria, putting a hand on his arm, her face a mask of worry. I remember my own wife, Eleanor, pulling at my sleeve, her voice a desperate whisper in my ear, "Rob, let it go. It's not worth it. Look at us. Just let it go." But it was too late. Pride had entered the room, and when pride sits down at the table, it devours everything else. There's no room left for reason or history or love. I remember saying something final, something cold and hard and ugly, something like, "If that's how you really feel, then we have nothing more to talk about." And I turned my back. I actually, physically, turned my back on 50 years of my life, puffed out my chest, and walked back to my side of the yard, convinced that my silence was a sign of strength. Convinced I had won. The silence that followed was a living thing. At first, it was a stubborn, tense battle of wills. I'd see his car on the street and I'd turn down a different road. I'd see him at the grocery store and we'd both become intensely fascinated with the cereal boxes, pretending the other didn't exist. A week of this proud, stupid game turned into a month. A month turned into a year. And slowly the tension faded, replaced by something worse: habit. The silence became normal. Our wives tried, bless their hearts. They'd arranged dinners, accidental run-ins at the park. But Leo and I were two old mules dug into our trenches, refusing to be the first to surrender. It was a Cold War fought in the aisles of the supermarket and at parent-teacher conferences, a war of averted glances and stiff nods.
We missed each other's lives in tiny, painful increments. I wasn't there to clap him on the back when his daughter got married. He wasn't there to shake my hand when my son graduated from college. I read the announcement of his mother's death in the morning paper. I put on my black suit, I drove to the church, and I sat in my car across the street watching the mourners go in. A coward, a complete and utter coward, hiding behind a wall of pride I'd built with my own two hands. I saw him afterwards, standing alone on the church steps, looking so much older, so lost. He needed his best friend that day, and his best friend was sitting across the street, stewing in his own righteousness, letting him grieve alone. Years turned into decades. The anger faded completely, and what was left was just a quiet, aching void, a phantom limb I could still feel. There were hundreds of times I'd pick up the phone to tell him something, a funny story I heard, a piece of news about our old neighborhood, to ask for advice on a leaky faucet, because he was always better with that stuff than me. My thumb would hover over his name in my address book. Leo. Just 4 letters. But I'd always stop. The pride, it's like a disease. It metastasizes over time. It whispers in your ear. He should call first. He was the one who was wrong. And you listen. You listen until you can't even remember what his voice sounds like anymore. Eleanor, my wife, she passed away 7 years ago. And after the funeral, after the relatives went home and the house fell silent, the silence was different. It wasn't just quiet. It was heavy. It was filled with the ghosts of all the conversations I'd never had, all the laughter that was missing. A few weeks later, trying to feel closer to her, I was cleaning out the attic, and I found a box. A big, dusty cardboard box labeled The Good Times. Inside were photos, hundreds of them. Us as kids, all knees and elbows with matching slingshots. Us as teenagers, covered in grease from trying to fix that old Ford we bought for $50. Us in our ridiculous wedding tuxedos, 2 idiots grinning at the camera thinking we had all the time in the world. I sat there on that dusty floor for hours, the smell of old paper and lost time filling the air, just looking at his face. At the face of the man I had thrown away over nothing. And for the first time in 30 years, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pride. I just felt loss. An immense, bottomless, suffocating loss. The argument didn't matter. Who was right didn't matter. Nothing mattered except the fact that my brother, my best friend, wasn't in my life. And the reason he wasn't there was me. It was my choice. A choice I had remade every single morning for 30 years. I decided right then and there that I would fix it. I was terrified. What do you even say after 3 decades of silence? Hello? It's me? It all felt so stupid, so small compared to the mountain of time that stood between us. But the fear of dying with that regret was finally greater than the fear of his rejection. I found his number online. My hand was shaking so much I could barely dial. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times. I was about to hang up, my heart pounding in my throat, a wave of shame washing over me, and then a woman's voice answered. Not his wife, Maria. A younger voice, his daughter, all grown up. I asked for Leo, and she started to cry. A soft, gentle sob. She said, "You didn't know? Dad passed away." Last week, I lost my best friend twice. The first time, I lost him to my own stupid, worthless pride. And that was a choice I made every single day for 30 years. Every time I didn't pick up the phone. The second time, I lost him to death. And that was final. There are no second chances after that. No do-overs. Just this.
this silence? The echo of a phone that will never ring. Don't be a fool like me. That argument you're holding on to, that person you're not talking to because you're waiting for them to apologize first, is your pride worth this silence? Is it worth being haunted? Pick up the phone, send the text, drive to their house. Now, not tomorrow, now, before it's too late, before the silence becomes permanent.